Good evening and welcome to PechaKucha San Antonio, Volume 38. My name is Vicky Yuan and I'm the chair of our San Antonio chapter. And on behalf of all of us here, including our hardworking planning team and brilliant presenters tonight, we are thrilled that you are joining us for our first ever online event. We asked ourselves whether hosting this event felt right in a time where communities all over the world are hurting over injustice. Ultimately, we wanted to connect with our community and share stories we can all learn from or relate to. PechaKucha San Antonio stands in solidarity with our Black community today and every day. And our team is looking forward to continue to highlight their voices as we share the stories from San Antonians who make this city a special place. The presentations tonight shine a light on some very special members of our community, and we thank you immensely for joining us. Before introducing our host tonight, we also have a very special guest, the silver lining of these remotely connected times. Calling in all the way from Tokyo, Mark Ditham is the co-founder of PechaKucha, or PechaKucha, and the visionary of this 20 by 20 platform that is the reason we're gathering here today. Mark, welcome to our San Antonio community. We are so honored you would want to join us.
Thank you so much, Vicky, and thank you to all of the team that put on PechaKucha in San Antonio. It's amazing. This is your 38th event and you're celebrating 10 years. And this is the first time we've managed to speak, which is incredible. Yeah, it's a difficult moment in the world. What's been amazing about PechaKucha is it started off as a one-off event in Tokyo 17 years ago. And it's spread today to 1,233 cities around the world. And it's really become the world stage, and the world stage for sharing creativity and passion. And there's nothing better than showing and sharing what you do. There's an endorphin that comes out when you make something creative. And I think all cities need that right now. It's been a difficult time with the pandemic as well. And as we were saying just before we came on, it's actually very strange in this moment of social distancing. PechaKucha communities become closer together just because I can drop in and talk and say hello here. And also we can swap presenters too. We'd love to invite your San Antonio presenters to present online in Tokyo in the future. But it's really brought us much closer together, and we really enjoy that. And I think it's a new era for PechaKucha. But the fact that we can bring communities together. PechaKucha doesn't see nationality, it doesn't see religion, it really just sees creativity and passion. And I think that is the most important thing. There's a really great presentation online by Christopher Humphreys. He cycled around the world. It took him 4 years, and just look him up, and you can see that from our 15,000 presentations we have online. So Christopher, sorry, his name's Alistair Humphreys, I'll get it right. Alistair cycled around the world for 4 years, and he went through war-torn areas, Iraq and Libya, different places. And he said he never had an issue. The human default is compassion. And I think that's one of the most important things that we need to remember now, that everybody is compassionate and everybody needs to support everybody. So I'm really glad that you put this presentation on tonight, and I'm really interested to hear all the stories. We've had 20 online events since the pandemic started, and it's been amazing to get a view into cities around the world, especially in America, in Kalamazoo, in Providence, Rhode Island, and tonight in San Antonio. And we always hear positive and strong stories. And it seems the stories we hear seem completely different to the stories we hear on the news. And that cuts back to Alistair too, who cycled around the world. He said that the world he saw for 4 years is completely different to the world he sees on TV and on news. So I'm really glad that PechaKucha can bring this very honest view of the world, an honest view of your city, and a celebration of your creativity. So I wish you a really, really great night tonight, and I'm looking forward to seeing all your fantastic presentations, and I'll say hi at the end. So good luck, everybody. Break a leg, and see you soon.
Thank you so much, Mark. Our host tonight, moving on to the show, is a true San Antonio ambassador, singer-songwriter Garrett T. Garrett, let's start the show.
All right, we cool? Y'all hear me? in the internet world? All right, cool. Hello, everybody. Greetings from the Riverwalk. I hope all of you are having a good Thursday night so far. I'm going to play a song that is the intro for this wonderful internet event. PechaKucha 38, live from San Antonio. Thank you for tuning in on the internet from the comfort of your home. Times are strange and times are weird, but it's gonna be a hell of a show. PechaKucha 38, live from San Antonio. In case any of you are new to PechaKucha, here's how it works. PechaKucha. Did I just mute my microphone? All right, I'm back.
You did? Okay.
PechaKucha is a Japanese term for chit-chat. It was started in 2003 by Klein Dailum Architecture in Tokyo as a forum for young designers to show and tell their work interests. PechaKucha 2020 is a simple presentation format where you show 20 images for 20 seconds. And over the past 17 years, it has spread to over 1,200 cities around the world. PechaKucha San Antonio is a 100% volunteer endeavor organized by an independent committee. PechaKucha San Antonio relies on community support and exists to showcase the talent of people who make San Antonio a very special place. PechaKucha is proud and honored to be supported by the Las Casas Foundation, a partnership committed to the community and performing arts. Also, PechaKucha is accepting donations to benefit the San Antonio Food Bank and Black Outside, a local organization that reconnects Black youth to the outdoors. If you would like to donate, please do so at lascasasfoundation.org/support. PechaKucha would not be possible without our sponsors. Our annual sponsors include the San Antonio Food Bank, the Southwest School of Art, the Lake Flato Architects, Rhino General Contractors, Zurich International Properties, Centro Properties, Schrader Art, Gary Sweeney, and 506th. Before we get started, let's meet our speakers. Theremin Fanatic, Jess, DeCuir, Gabriel, Ibarra, Compost Queen, Kate, Jaceldo, and Curious, Jess, Elizarraras. And I'm on adoption advocate, Mr. Ben, Yanto, and education specialist, Gabriela, Santiago. And my name is Garrett T. I will be your host. All right, we're having a party. How about our first guest? Jess Elizarraras, Curiosity Connoisseur.
Hello.
Hey, Jess, what's happening?
That took me a minute. This is only like my third Zoom call, so.
That is cool. That's cool that you've been able to avoid Zoom during this time. A little bit about Jess. Since moving to the Alamo City in 2004 to attend the University of Texas at San Antonio, Jess Elizarraras spent the last decade writing about and eating her way through her adopted city. The Rio Grande Valley native enjoys climbing giant towers of seafood and putting too much Lucas on her fruit cups. Now, as the Chief Engagement Officer for Dorchel Distilling and Brewing Company, Jess is exploring the fascinating world of marketing, PR, and event planning. Ladies and gentlemen, Curiosity Connoisseur, Jess Elizarraras.
Hi. So thank you for being here and letting me be a part of this. My name is Jess, soon to be Jess Elizarraras Skradsky, not making it any easier for anyone ever. But that won't be until I make it to the Social Security office. And this is a millennial love story. It started on the Instagram, that is. If you're not familiar, Instagram launched in 2010 and was later purchased by Facebook. And to be fair, this is not the first love story to come out of the photo sharing platform. It's easy enough to slide into DMs and hit that heart button or to signal, yes, I want to be your Insta husband. It was the summer of 2016, picture it. We were all dialing that hotline bling. I was dabbling in dating in San Antonio, or as my therapist liked to call it, doing my research. And minutes turned into Frankenstein's monster. I was then the food and nightlife editor at the San Antonio Current, covering restaurants, bars, coffee shops, etc. And part of the job was using the publication's Instagram and filling it with seafood towers, crazy milkshakes, micheladas, or the latest drink special on the strip. TJ moved here from Tampa to work at USAA's main campus. He followed the Current looking for cool spots to visit. I would post, he would comment. Eventually, we followed each other on our personal accounts. And on the night that we met, I was visiting a friend at her apartment complex. Live Happy was the mural on the wall, and after many a failed experiment, I was ready for my happy. Fast forward 6 months. As friends, we learned our likes, dislikes, heartaches, family dynamics, pet peeves. My mentor kept asking who this guy I kept hanging out with was, and I brushed it aside until I couldn't any longer. Friends turned into something more, and we just worked as a couple. We love to travel and eat our way around our city beyond. He's an amazing cook and is always down for my crazy ideas. He's a great dog dad to Hamilton. He lets me play DJ in the car, which means his Spotify will have the occasional Bad Bunny in the middle of his DAWs playlist. We love a good costume. These are 2017, 2018, and 2019, respectively. He's introverted, I'm extroverted. He grounds me and makes me laugh. After about 2 years of dating, I came home to a very special charcuterie board. He knew not to ask in public because I'm an ugly crier, so that's definitely a keeper. And even though I used to think I was never going to get married, suddenly we were doing the things. And it turns out there's a lot of things to do when you're planning a wedding. There's dresses, favors, cakes. We were taking engagement photos at the San Antonio Public Library, where we'd gone on dates, and Estate Coffee, our favorite coffee roaster. I was trying to say yes to the dress without breaking the bank and trying to get the salesperson to understand that I was going for effortless and not frilly ball gowns. We were building an entire website and asking our friends to stand by our side. Here's the website, Millennial right there. We were adding a registry for a house fund because in our 30s, when we've already merged 2 apartments, it's kind of goofy to ask for sheet sets and china. After a few months of shopping, we found a venue, a secluded and chic garden just outside of 1604 that specializes in small, affordable weddings. Just a sec. Ooh, sorry. It was dreamy. The coordinator was a lovely woman with a calming presence, and everything seemed to line up. It did take me some time to get into the spirit of things. Whoops, hang on. Keep losing my notes. Weddings cost $27,000. There's pressures of not being a bridezilla. And then this happened. By March 2013, COVID had taken the first US life and cities were starting to lock down. A week after South by South and 20 days before a big day, the Centers for Disease Control put out new guidelines encouraging events no larger than 25 people. Our already small wedding was shrinking. Our parents are in their 60s. TJ's dad had just had a stroke. My grandmothers are in their 80s, one's in Mexico. And one of our best men lives in Seattle, one of the early epicenters of the disease. Oh, did I mention that I work in the food and beverage industry and we were trying to figure out what it meant to close a tasting room. Our saving grace was that we hired an angel to plan what would have been our tropical brunch wedding. Jordan of Love All the Days talked us through what postponing the wedding would mean. Would vendors cooperate? What deposits would we still have? Were we screwed? 5 days after the CDC's guidelines were released and as San Antonio began to shut down in earnest, we went to the Bexar County Courthouse and took out our marriage license. The couples who sat around us had an equally resolute look on their face that said, we're doing this thing, damn it. By Saturday night, I still didn't have flowers, but had sent off a Hail Mary email to Texas's best grocery chain. On Sunday morning, we picked up our 6-inch cake from a local baker who couldn't find flowers to match our theme because grocery stores were running out of everything. But HEB came through. On Sunday morning, on March 22nd, Andy Hopper, the design and development manager for HEB Blooms, who also went to the University of Alabama like TJ, Roll Tide Roll, had found a distributor and created a magical bouquet that matched our tropical theme. I kept my makeup and hair appointments because obviously. And although we didn't have our favors, our venue, our groomsmen, our tropical decor, our delicious brunch, or our parents, we did have a beautiful backdrop at Hemisphere, 2 wonderful witnesses, and a pair of photographers to capture the ceremony, and a fabulous officiant who will remain unnamed for now. It wasn't what we planned at all. It seems like nothing. Millennials who graduated during a recession and are currently navigating a worldwide pandemic. But 2 months in, and we're living happy. We have a wild story to tell our kids, and that's worth more than a few likes on the gram. Ooh.
Hey, that was awesome.
I didn't black out, so that worked out.
Yeah, totally. I'm gonna honk a horn in celebration of you guys' love. How cool!
You understand?
Hear me?
Yeah.
Well, anyways, thank you for the wonderful presentation and for making lemons in a time. Yes, making lemons in a time of crisis. So through this digital marriage, what could you recommend to people going through a similar situation right now? Because no one saw this coming, and it's a strange time, and there's tension, but you made the most of it, and you celebrated your love in a digital age, and you played it safe. What was the toughest obstacle in this process, and what would you recommend to someone going through the same thing?
I think weddings are going to look a lot differently now, but what saved us was that we took out event insurance. I have to share anything with any future brides or grooms is that you really, as part of the budget, and to temper your expectations.
Well, do y'all have honeymoon plans yet?
We were supposed to go to Berlin's, but now we'll see.
Well, I'm really excited for y'all, and that was a beautiful presentation. So thank you so much for making the most of it and entertaining us with your story.
Of course.
All right. Moving on. How about for Jess Elizarraras? There's my applause. Very good. Up next is Educator Gabriela Santiago. A fiercely creative self-starter with a focus on education, Gabriela Santiago develops pedagogical programming that weaves together a network of interdisciplinary resources to make learning engaging, accessible, and relevant. Evidence that meaningful experiences have enduring effects. A certified EC12 career educator, Gabriela has designed and facilitated inquiry-based classroom and museum curriculum, out-of-school programming, and interactive public works for all ages. Today, she is wrapping up a wonderful school year at Lamar Elementary. Outside of her artist/educator habits, Gabriela is always looking for an excuse to spend time on a Texas river with her pup, Turkey. Ladies and gentlemen, Gabriela Santiago.
Right. So tomorrow is graduation day for my students at Lamar Elementary. So my PechaKucha tonight will be addressed to them. I'm ready. If y'all didn't already know it, being a teacher takes a lot of heart. I stepped out of teaching to work in museums and organize events, but after a while, I got an aching to go back into the classroom. I got really lucky and landed a job as your 6th grade reading teacher. The minute it was official, I started asking everyone I knew about their 6th grade experience. It went something like this. What do you remember about 6th grade? Oh, you don't remember 6th grade? Really? Nothing at all? Can't even remember your teachers' faces? Oh, you owned a pair of Doc Martens? Okay. Do you remember anything you read? Yeah, you definitely would have been reading by then. Nope, can't remember what, but you remember reading Hatchet in the 4th grade? Great, I thought. I was going to be teaching the least memorable year of anyone's life. Honestly, I had a hard time remembering anything from 6th grade either. After some intense mental digging, I'll tell you what I do remember from that time in my life. I remember everything I suddenly needed, was off limits. My Puerto Rican mother said, no boys, you're too young. Nail polish is trashy. Razors, I don't care if everyone else is doing it. Sleepovers, you have your own bed. Thumb rings, because I said so. TV shows after 5 p.m. are for adults. And especially, much to my heart's dismay, no shopping at the Limited too. The truth is, although any hope of being popular was squashed, I was busy being an oldest sister. I had a lot of responsibility, and look at these guys. They needed some serious guidance. That woman is my mother, a master of building character through the art of saying no, guru of the go ahead, try me glare, and the most passionate educator I've known. She inherited that glare from my abuela. This, her 96th birthday via Zoom. Look at her. She is a boss. Before anyone, my grandmother saw me, a dreamer, a bit of a distracted child. So over and over she told me, Gabriela, first finish your education. Entonces puedes hacer otras cosas. ¿Estás escuchando? Are you listening to me? My grandmother did something unthinkable for a young Puerto Rican woman in the 1940s. She left the island for an American education. She studied math and science, earning a degree in both. This experience shaped my entire family and her devotion to securing a quality education for us. So I did my best to make her proud, and after studying art in college, chose to become a teacher, like her. I teach because a great education can set you on a path to choose the life you want to live, to have control of your future, and you deserve that choice. That being said, how was I going to anchor our learning so it meant more than a coveted pair of sneakers or a favorite hooded sweater? Then it hit me. The Giver, that's what I had read in 6th grade. I don't even remember what the story was about, but I remember I had a visceral reaction to it. I hated it. The point is, The Giver made me feel things I had never felt before and think about the world in a way I had never done. This, I thought, would be the foundation of our classroom. The literature would become our shared experience, and by reading alongside one another, we would cultivate safe and fertile ground for exploring our identities. Our conversations would launch from our reactions to stories, articles, interviews, poetry, and more poetry. Sometimes you'd hate it, and I would secretly love that you hated it. Our year started with a trip to the rock climbing gym, and we considered our experience a metaphor for the learning that was ahead of us. It's not about getting to the top on the first try. It's about setting small goals to get there eventually. No one can climb to the top for you, but we can encourage you and give you advice along the way. Uncertainty can be scary. Not ready to take a risk? It's okay to step back and try again later. Together, we created a learning sanctuary, a place we could push the world aside and focus on bettering ourselves, committing to always focus on growth and mindfully becoming independent thinkers and doers. It was paying off. You were on the path to victory. By our middle of year exams, every single one of you proved to be exceeding every expectation the district had for you. Then the news came. Our classroom was closed. My heart sank. Me and Miss Correa called each other immediately. We were so worried about you. And what about what we had built? Our collaborative classroom? What about our stand and deliver moment? After months of discussing figurative language and making connections across text and challenging key ideas and finding text evidence to support your thinking, you were all bound to explode expectations on the STAR exam. But most importantly, what about your future? The ability to choose the life you wanted to live because of the investment you were making in your education, in our education system. As teachers, we push and push and push you because we see the incredible potential in every single one of you. We're afraid if we don't push with all our might, you might let yourself down because you haven't realized the potential that's inside of you. So we take it upon ourselves to nurture that potential for you, hoping that one day you'll see it for yourself. Once the stay-at-home order was in place, the district jumped to attention, making sure families were fed and had the resources they needed to begin online learning. Teachers frantically called families to make sure they were taken care of, and then us teachers dove headfirst into, well, the internet. When the day came for us to begin online classes, I was ready. It's my job. I had to be ready. But when you showed up that day, not only did you give me hope, you made history. Let that sink in. You, my dear friends, are the history makers. On that day, you reminded me it's not our education system, it is your education system. I showed up because I know the work I do is important to me, and you showed up. And it was clear that you believe in the value of education and that you believe in your own potential. So now I'm going to ask you a very big question. What do you want the future of education to look like? At this moment, you have a unique chance to redesign the system. At this moment in time, you have the power to change the way kids learn forever. You deserve an amazing education, and so do all the kids that are following after you. You have a responsibility to speak up. You are old enough, and you are definitely smart enough. You have great ideas. Share them with school leaders, teachers, your peers. You are the key to making this whole system work. So we need to hear your voices more now than ever. Don't let us down. Keep showing up. You are the future. Show us the way.
Hey, baby. Oops. That was supposed to be the horn. There we go. That was awesome. Really moving graduation ceremony.
Tomorrow.
Oh, well, yeah. This is like the beginning of it all. And a way to do it. Are you getting some good reactions from your students?
They are on a different Zoom next to me. Yeah, I'm getting some X's with D's, which I think those are smiles. I'm still getting used to this whole thing.
Digital lingo. Very, very wide smiles because you are a wonderful mentor. And this is a very excellent way to send them off into the summertime. What can everybody expect moving into the school year next year?
Well, I think we're all trying to figure that out right now. We have some plans, but really it's going to take a lot of collaboration between parents, the district, the community, I think. But we are having open conversations about how to make it safe and doable for everyone. I know, speaking as a teacher, I think we are ready to see our students in person again.
I can only imagine. Well, thank you for sharing this wonderful presentation with us, and good luck at the graduation ceremony tomorrow and moving forward.
Oh my God, I forgot the most important part. I finished too early. The last thing I want to say to my students is congratulations. We are all so proud of you. That's all.
We're all very proud of you. In this time where you had to learn on the computer a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Gabriela Santiago. Moving on, we have Kate Jaceldo, the Compost Queen. Alchemist Kate Jaceldo is the co-founder of Compost Queens, a company that transforms food waste into compost. A special ed teacher, social worker, and transition facilitator for a public school district, her passion for a sustainable food system and concerns about the climate crisis radically changed her course. Born and raised in South Texas, today the Compost Queen works hard to save the planet, or at least San Antonio, one bucket at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, Kate Jaceldo.
Hi, thanks for having me. So I'm gonna talk about how growing a business is a lot like growing a garden. So I'm ready. You may be familiar with pictures like this in the news recently. It's an illustration of our broken food system that's becoming more obvious in the wake of COVID. Broken distribution chains and disease outbreaks in packing facilities are exposing and widening the barriers to food access. As a result, many people are turning to local farmers and our own backyards for food. But COVID is simply shining a light on a movement that's already been happening. Farmers markets, urban farms, and community gardens are becoming more common, and our city leaders are having much needed discussions about how to create a more resilient and sustainable food system. And it was in this climate that my mom came to me with an idea for a community compost company. We already knew compost had many benefits in the garden, like increasing moisture retention and reducing our need for pesticides, but we were also learning that food waste contributes to the global climate crisis. 25% of our landfills are made up of food scraps, which turn into methane, a greenhouse gas more detrimental than carbon dioxide. And we weren't alone. Community composters are popping up all over the country, coming from a variety of backgrounds. They're recognizing the value of food scraps in not only rebuilding community food systems, but now we're learning that compost can draw carbon out of the atmosphere, which means it can help reverse the effects of climate change. So the idea that we could take trash, a liability for the community, and turn it into an asset was awesome. I was a disillusioned social worker in a large school district, and after the 2016 election, I knew I needed to make a more direct impact. So like all the new gardeners out there, we decided to grow something new in response to a crisis. And guess what? Growing a business isn't all that different than growing a garden. There are basically 4 things you need for a garden: seed, soil, sun, and water. It doesn't matter where you live, the 4 necessities don't change. With a little ingenuity and a lot of humility, you can make something grow. And we learned the same thing is true of a business. Plants need the sun to produce energy in a process known as photosynthesis. This energy is what allows the plant to grow. The water allows the plant to absorb nutrients from the soil throughout their life cycle. And finally, healthy soil that's full of life, microbes that create soil structure, allows the plant to access the water and become strong enough to naturally fight off disease. And if you've ever browsed through a seed catalog, you know it can be a rabbit hole. There are over 10,000 varieties of tomatoes. So to get started, you have to do some narrowing down. Sift through everything, figure out what seed's best suited for the environment that you're trying to grow in. What are its needs as far as sun, soil, and water? So we had our seed or idea, but this is such a new industry, there really isn't much in the way of best practices. So we quickly learned that the environment or community would dictate as much of what the company became as we did. And we knew there would be a lot of trial and error. We did not know there would be goats. So once we had our idea, we needed to create energy around it and get some sunlight on it. And we knew this was a great idea, but we had education to do. We quickly learned that while some people would sign on just because it was the right thing, most people needed more. What was in it for them? Why should they care? And was it going to be gross? So we gave workshops for anyone who would have us. Schools, community gardens, offices. Edible SA wrote a piece on us early on that we still hear about. We gave a radio interview and I went on podcasts. At one point, I even landed on the front page of the Express News, which was very cool. Thank you, Chuck. So then I had to learn how to market our service with no marketing background, of course. So I started posting facts and statistics on Instagram. I took pictures of our workshops, the plants in our garden, and the food scraps in our buckets. Surprise, apparently people like pictures of food scraps. This picture even made it into San Antonio magazine. So next, you need water, the bane of any South Texas grower's existence at some point or another. If it's not a drought, it's a torrential downpour, perhaps with the sight of hail or the random tornado. So how do you plan for the unpredictable? We had to navigate going from a steady volume to a flood of commercial accounts in a short amount of time, and then a pandemic. At the beginning of the year, we were riding waves. Our last 2 quarters had seen an explosion in commercial accounts, and we had at least 10 events scheduled over the next 2 months. It was going to be a great year. And then COVID. In a matter of days, we were seeing our current and future revenue shrivel before our eyes. We would have been sunk, but we had something that would get us through and hopefully other disasters to come. Healthy soil teeming with microbes. In our case, it was our community of composters. While our commercial clients went into survival mode, our employees, residential customers, and partners all doubled down on the concept of creating a sustainable and resilient food system. Natural ecosystems regulate themselves through diversity. Without our residential customers, farm partners, and the markets that sell our products, and the organizations and people that promote our work, we'd still be just a seed. Instead, we can continue to find ways to adapt and serve the needs of our community. But there's one final lesson that we all have to learn, and usually more than once. It's the lesson at the heart of what we do as composters, honoring the death that is inevitable with growing new life. Bugs may get your squash. The hot August sun will wilt everything. And from that death comes decay, the end and the beginning, because from decay comes regeneration and rebirth. And ultimately, it's this rebirth that we're after. It's what we were looking for when we decided to start Compost Queens. It's what you're seeking when you plant a garden. It's what's happening across our country as we recognize the unjust systems that have terrorized Black communities since our nation's birth. It's how we continue to remake our communities when they're hit by devastation, disease, death, and now despotism. It's a universal truth that without the death and decay, we would never have new growth. We face great challenges right now, but we also face great opportunities. Opportunities to rebuild existing systems so that they serve all of us. So I encourage you all to keep seeking life from death, rather than despair when things go wrong, because they will. Find ways to grow. Grow hope, grow community, grow plants, just keep growing. And I'll leave you with the words of poet and activist Nikki Giovanni. Everything will change. The only question is growing up or decaying.
Thank you, Kate. That was great. And I learned a lot. And thank you for being so active in the community. Have you helped a lot of people make gardens during the pandemic era?
So that's actually something that we have started since COVID. We work with people now if they want to grow gardens we'll consult on designing them, but also give them our food scraps to enrich the soil, so they've got great soil as a foundation.
That's awesome. Well, it seems like y'all are kind of rocking and rolling right now. What's the future look like for the rest of the year? It seems like everyone's in transition.
Yeah, I mean, as things start to reopen, we are starting to get some of our commercial clients back, but we're just really finding ways to serve the local food system as it evolves in the wake of this.
Got it. Well, once again, thank you so much for sharing all this information about your life and your life's work, and thank you for making our city a better place.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we are going to have a digital intermission. So I'm going to play an intermission song on my phone. All right. welcome to the intermission. How about those presenters? We got some true badasses here in San Antonio, and those three people are definitely some of them. I'm going to read you some information, and then we're going to move on. Thank you to our in-kind sponsors. Giles Design Bureau, Giant Noise, Josh Huskin Photography, the San Antonio Current, the Rivard Report, Sprocket Media Hub, Sprocket Media Hub, Ala Express Cafe, Bakery Lorraine, and Tia Palone's Salsita. Also, we're giving away some stuff. Let's see if you can see some of this stuff. We're giving away some mezcal infused coffee. I don't think you can see it. We're giving away some cool stuff to the sponsors. So if you feel like sponsoring, please go to the Las Casas Foundation website, and we're going to be drawing the winner here at the end of this thing, and they get a lot of cool stuff. I'm going to change my background during this intermission as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Ben Yanto is on the way. A little bit about Ben. Ben Yanto is a photographer and animal lover who has made San Antonio his home for the last 16 years. In what started as a social media plea to help rescue a dog from a local shelter in 2014, he discovered that through his photography, he could help connect potential adopters with needy pups. To date, he has welcomed more than 185 foster dogs into his home, in addition to the 4 dogs that permanently reside with him. Ladies and gentlemen, Ben Yanto!
What's going on, Garrett?
What's happening, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm just going to talk about my rescue journey, my foster journey, really. So, yeah, I'm ready. In 2019, 3.9 million dogs entered U.S. animal shelters. Of those, more than 1.2 million were euthanized, a nice word for killed. It's a sad reality for many dogs, a lot of them healthy and adoptable, that have to be put down in order to make room for more dogs, as they are constantly coming in. How do we stop this? One way is to spay and neuter your pets. Next, keep your pet secured in your house, yard, or on a leash. Microchipping your pet is another great way to help lost pets get back home. Lastly, foster and adopt with your local animal shelter or rescue group. Have you ever been scrolling through Facebook and come across one of those posts of a dog looking for a home? It's usually a plea for someone to help get the animal out of the shelter by a certain time, or else it will be euthanized. I can't help but think of the ASPCA commercial with Sarah McLachlan. Yeah, we all get the feels from that song. And this is one of those pictures that made me want to adopt. This is my dog, Brody. He was being fostered by a really nice couple, and I credit them for opening my eyes to the shelter system. They gave me an idea what it was like to foster, though it would be a year or so before I even considered fostering a dog. This is the actual picture I saw on Facebook that tugged at my heartstrings, my angel moment. This was my very first foster, Bosley. At the time, I had no idea what I was getting into. He was a handful at first, but I was able to train him and eventually found a great home for this good boy. This is Teddy, a foster who needed help to fix a broken femur. Through social media, I was able to raise funds for the rescue to pay for his surgery. Using hashtags on Instagram, I found Leah from Atlanta, who ended up flying from Georgia to Texas just to adopt him. It was then I realized how effective social media is to reach people anywhere looking to adopt. I've been a photographer for about 17 years. I love taking photos of my foster dogs, just hanging around my house, being themselves. I think it gives potential adopters a glimpse of what life could be like with their new fur baby. These photos have significantly helped in finding forever homes for them. I love volunteering my time to photograph spay and neuter outreach events such as the Big Fix hosted by SNPSA. This organization does these events 3 times a year to help families in low-income areas of San Antonio with free spay, neuter, microchipping, and vaccinations. On average, they treat over 450 animals at each event. These are my 2 previous fosters, Ro and Ohm. Although adopted at separate times, they are best friends. It's amazing to see how these 2 dogs who were unwanted early in their lives are now thriving in such a loving home. To top it off, they were included in their parents' big day last December. I never could have imagined I'd be fostering so many dogs and puppies, yet here I was in February 2017 with my 100th foster. I found it to be so rewarding to find these deserving dogs at home and to see the happiness they bring to their families. 80 plus foster dogs since that milestone, it continues to drive me to do what I do. Last summer, I was invited to be on Great Day SA. The subject, you guessed it, fostering. It was a great experience, and I really tried my best to get Jesse Borrego to adopt my foster, but it didn't quite work out. But I made a great friend in Roma who continued to support my fostering endeavors. As a foster parent, going to rescue events is an extremely helpful way to find potential adopters. These are really fun events, and sometimes they involve doing yoga with puppies. Yes, puppy yoga is as fun as it sounds, and I highly recommend it if you have the chance. These are images, not mine, of puppy mills. A puppy mill is an operation that breeds dogs not for health or vitality, but for profit. Often complaints are filed to shut down these operations. In severe cases, these dogs are confiscated and hopefully turned over to rescue groups. In some, the dogs are so ill, they must be put down. One of those cases is what brought Gigi into my life. At only 2 years old, she had spent most of her life living in a small crate in her own filth with dozens of other dogs in a tiny house. She used to breed French bulldogs, a designer breed, which were sold at designer prices until she was rescued. I'm so grateful for my 4 dogs, as I feel that they help me with every foster I've taken in. They know how to set a pack order with the fosters, and incredibly, the fosters pick it up quickly. If a foster can get along with my dogs, they can usually acclimate well with other families, especially ones who already have pets. Gigi also played a big part with fostering. Being used as a breeding dog and having litters of her own, she has a strong and nurturing maternal instinct. When I foster young puppies, she often steps in as their mama, making them feel comfortable and watching over them as her own. One of the most rewarding things about fostering is meeting all sorts of people and befriending them, from meeting other fosters or volunteers to people that have adopted from me. For those that have adopted, I love getting updates on how the dogs are doing and seeing the types of adventures and mischief they're getting into. Recognize the pajamas? Yep, that's right. It's now March 2020, and the country is shutting down in response to the COVID pandemic. While we were all stressing out about what to do, dogs around the world were celebrating their new normal, having their humans home all the time. Surprisingly, COVID has positively impacted so many foster and adoption programs. As people hunker down in their homes, they realize they're able to help out animals in need. Since the pandemic hit, I've been able to find homes for these 5 dogs. It's been a blessing in such terrible times to connect these dogs with their forever families. As I look back, I now see that I've always had a deep love for animals. That love is what motivates me to give back to them and my community. I hope that sharing my story will encourage others to do the same. If you can't foster or adopt, then volunteer or donate to your local animal shelter or rescue. In the meantime, please remember, adopt, don't shop, and that fostering saves lives.
Great, man. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for being really good with dogs.
Yeah, I've always had the love for them. So,
thank you for sharing all of that information and and being a very positive force in our community. I mean, I'm kind of flabbergasted, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Dogs do you walk at a time?
it just depends. I mean, puppies, you know, they go pretty fast. I mean, the quickest I probably had a puppy was like a couple of hours. And, you know, the older dogs I've had, you know, the longest I've had was 6-7 months. So,
Wow.
yeah. So it just all depends.
Yeah, I mean, that is really, really incredible. Any advice for people out there that might be seeking to do something similar to what you're doing?
Really is just to have patience. Like, you know, because a lot of these dogs are going to be coming into a new environment, which is your home. And so you can't expect the dog to adjust right away. So it's going to be adjustment period for both, you know, the foster and the dog. So patience is pretty much key.
Well, that makes perfect sense. It seems like you're a very patient person.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again, Ben.
All right,
We're moving on to Chef Gabriel Ibarra. Gabriel Ibarra is a corporate chef and managing partner of Cappy's, Cappuccinos, La Fonda on Main, and Mama's Cafe. Gabe lovingly credits his mom as his first inspiration in his interest in the culinary arts. My mom's cooking was horrible, so it was either eat her bad food or learn to cook. I was looking for laughter. Here we go. He is an advocate for fair wages for restaurant employees, self-reliance, growing your own food, and sustainability in the food supply chain. Ladies and gentlemen, corporate chef and partner, Gabriel Ibarra.
Hello. Well, just before we get started, I just have a few words to say. Working in a kitchen, I mean, we are a band of misfits, a real motley crew of all skin colors, races, and genders. I see our Black brothers and sisters in need. In the kitchen, we are all one team, made of several cooking stations with a common goal: produce the best food we can in a timely manner. If we see a station going down, we help and support them as a team. We support the Black community, and Black Lives Matter. And let's go ahead and let's do this. 25 years ago, when I started, there was no foodie social media, YouTube, or Top Chef cooking shows. We worked in the back of the house, meaning don't be seen, stay in the kitchen, away from the guest. We are the faceless hands that create menus, create your food, and make your special occasions deliciously memorable. In today's society, there has been some good to come from the modern foodie social scene. The movement has introduced my profession to the mainstream by alluring curious folks into the behind-the-scenes professional lives of chefs. This has allowed for more interest in how food is made and the labor that goes into it, sort of. I think this virus has shown us how fragile and vulnerable our food supply chain is. We have turned our proteins into huge manufacturing plants. If a rancher has an animal that are not suited for the factory, they cannot be processed. The closure of slaughterhouses and processing plants coronavirus outbreaks has exposed our food chain supply chain. As a result, by September, estimates are that 10 million pigs will be gassed, shot, overdosed, or killed by blunt trauma because they will not fit into the manufacturing plants. What a waste of life and food when we are in times of people in need. These plants are designed to slaughter pigs and cows of specific weight and size. And chickens, well, they'll be suffocated in a process that includes foaming. Remember the popular foam parties in the early 2000s? Exactly that type of foam. How sad and cruel. This may not bother me to become disconnected to our food. The labor that goes into getting our dinner and food is hidden and has become someone else's responsibility. like the thousands of migrant workers who are at risk putting our fruit and vegetables and working in meat factories. Our meat factory workers are under such tight quarters, the risk of infection is almost guaranteed. People need to understand that most proteins were once living animals and should be respected. We've been hearing a lot of these on how these times are unprecedented, which begs the question, what will be the president? In a time that feels hopeless for restaurants, I feel hopeful that this could be a chance to consciously shift our attitudes and relationships with the food factories. The first shift should be in self-reliance of the country, as a community, as a consumer. As a country, we should stop outsourcing and processing animals and pay attention to the sustainability of the animal proteins we're consuming. Food should not be cheap. Working in our restaurants and makes the food for our guests and get what guests wants. If that's filet mignon and ribeyes, so be it. We have always been taught to give them what they want. Although we use local farms for some of our produce and local ranchers for some of our center of the plate proteins, I feel like such a hypocrite. Am I part of the problem? Goat is a sustainable red meat alternative, yet we are only country in the world that does not utilize it regularly. As a community, we should create more barter and trade opportunities, real farmers market that uplift and support our farmers by showing them how to make connections, how to market themselves, and how to sustain their farm as a business, not farmer markets that hold back our farmers with strict contracts and penalties. Farmers don't know how to sell to restaurants and chefs don't know how to buy from farms. As individuals, we should make conscious efforts to support them when we can. As individuals, we should grow our own food when possible, raise chickens and ducks for a constant source of eggs, hunt and fish, make choices to support small farms, try to eat more plant-based meals. I know if we all did our parts to be responsible for a meal or two a week in our home, what a difference it would make. Learn to hunt or fish, make friends with a hunter, learn firsthand what it means to take the life so that you and your family can be nourished. Go to a local butcher and ask if you can buy a quarter of a local steer that can be processed for you, or go in on a whole steer with a few friends. Start a small garden at home. Gardening is not as difficult as it seems. Sun, water, magic, and clothing, that's definitely optional in my opinion. As restaurants, we have been trained carefully to prepare and serve food with special attentions to health and safety standards, while giving a delicious meal and welcoming guest experience. However, once our dining rooms are open, with the responsibility of public health also put onto the restaurants, some questions come to mind about our uncertain future. Will our host stands become a health screening area, taking your temp and asking a bunch of questions for contact tracing purposes? Oh, so I guess we'll have to keep secure records and destroy them later, like patient-doctor confidentiality. What the fuck? Are bussers becoming bouncers and mask enforcers and servers on cough and sneeze patrol? Really? Restaurants are already operate on such tight margins. How can we effectively staff and supply this sort of new responsibility? Contactless, the big new word. Should we aim for less contact? That goes against everything we know full service restaurants to be. Do we develop or invest in technologies to have less front of the house staff? Eliminate tipping, add service charges across the board. Yes, that means kitchen staff would get some of that service charge. You definitely don't want to get me started on that. Every time someone comes to your table, you are all at risk. To mask or not to mask? For me, memories are short-lived, and a mask is a way to remind people that things are not normal. I see them as a reminder and as a sign of respect to our guests and employees. In my 25 years as a chef, hell, even my 42 years on this earth, I have never been faced with something like this. None of us have. I know that during the hard times, we all seek comfort in the familiar and comfort in consistency of what is. What I hope is that this pandemic shifts us into finding comfort in knowing the power of our own choices in taking care of ourselves and our community.
All right, Ben. I mean, Gabriel, thank you so much, man. Thanks for the powerful message and all throughout the whole thing. That's definitely as someone that likes to eat food, I like to eat food, but as someone that likes to go out and eat, it's definitely been a challenging time. And I found your presentation very informative. So I know it's a bummer having to wear masks and stuff in the kitchen, but it looks like y'all are doing everything you can to be safe and make the best food possible. Down the road, I mean, do you believe that these safety precautions are going to be implemented forever? You think that is the change that has just happened is the new standard?
Well, I mean, nobody really knows. You know, it's not like there's just going to be some switch that gets flipped and all of a sudden it goes back to normal, and or what it was before this whole thing happened. And I mean, nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Yes, sir.
But I would definitely say that people like you are making things feel positive and moving forward in these uncertain times. So thank you so much for being a badass. And I hope to eat at one of your establishments soon.
Come on in, look for me. You can't miss me.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, Gabriel Ibarra. We are moving on to our final presenter, Jess DeCuir, the Theremin Fanatic. Jess DeCuir is a San Antonio artist with an MFA from UTSA and a BFA from Webster University, St. Louis. An award-winning educator, she has taught art at San Antonio College and the Southwest School of Art for over 20 years. Jess and her partner, Jeff, are in the international electronic music duo, Hyperbubble. They are currently wrapping up a 4-year documentary film, Cowgirls and Synthesizers. The film prominently features Jess's favorite instrument, the theremin. Hey, Jess.
Hi, thank you, Garrett. And thank you, everyone, for being with us tonight. So hi, I'm Jess, and I'm a theremin fanatic. Let's roll. I'm here to, oh, this is the sound of the theremin, by the way. I'm here to tell you about my journey as a theremin fanatic, but first, a little history. The theremin is one of the oldest instruments, or first electronic instruments invented by Russian scientist and spy Leon Theremin in 1920. He accidentally discovered this instrument as a result of proximity sensors research. A prolific inventor, Theremin developed a covert listening device used by the secret police. Now, the instrument works by generating electromagnetic fields around two antennae, a vertical antennae for pitch, and a horizontal looped antennae to control volume. You don't touch the instrument to create sounds in music, which makes it the perfect pandemic device. It relies on muscle memory and a good ear for pitch to play well. Theremin's concerts to demonstrate the instrument drew much excitement and attention in the US. The original RCA models were a commercial flop, advertised as an instrument that anyone could play. Robert Moog, inventor of the first commercial synthesizer, revolutionized the theremin in the 60s, and his ether wave theremin later became a standard. Now, I'd already heard of Clara Rockmore, who was a pioneer theremin virtuoso. She performed flawless classical compositions, but it wasn't until I heard the theremin played live at a rock concert that I was hooked. In 2009, my music duo Hyperbubble opened for the Austin band, the Octopus Project, whose lead member Yvonne played the theremin like a pro. I remember thinking how bizarre the thing looked and sounded, and couldn't take my eyes off of her playing. I knew I had to have a theremin someday. I had a very modest goal, which was to learn how to play Amazing Grace for my mother, who also was fond of the instrument. A couple of years went by, but because I was too cheap to buy one for myself, my husband and bandmate Jeff bought me a Theremin for my 41st birthday. I cried when I opened the package and saw my Moog Etherwave Theremin. Later on, after playing it for the first time, I cried again because I sounded so horrible. This was going to take some determination. You see, the Theremin is like a stray cat. You can't just walk up to it and expect to play it and make it purr. It screeches and howls at you if you're not careful. It takes patience and time to improve your skills, but you don't have to be a virtuoso to create cool sound effects in music. People who've seen me play have said it's like magic, and it kind of is because you're literally pulling the notes out of the air. The Theremin is its own unique instrument with sound effects as diverse as bird chirps to bomber planes. The instrument can produce beautiful ethereal melodies and eerie sci-fi sounds. Theremins come in all shapes and sizes, and Hyperbubble was invited to play a music festival in 2014 at the Lexington in London. We were told a Theremin would be ready and waiting for me, and I was thrilled, but also nervous because this would be my debut London performance. So imagine my surprise when I was handed this in the dressing room. It looked more like a walkie-talkie than a Theremin, but in fact it was a pocket version. So I'm backstage trying to figure out how this thing works and quickly discover its limitations. Meanwhile, Jeff is just chatting away with this really cute girl band who couldn't get enough of his Texas accent. Then came showtime, and when that little pocket Theremin let out what sounded like an air raid siren, the crowd loved it. I'm not only a Theremin fanatic, but a moon lover, and the Theremin and the moon make a great pairing, not just in music, but in film and art. Music Out of the Moon was an album with songs like Lunar Rhapsody in 1947, composed by Harry Revel, with Samuel Hoffman on Theremin and Les Baxter as bandleader. Neil Armstrong listened to this space-age pop music during the 1969 Apollo 11 moon mission. Lunar Rhapsody was also featured in the Neil Armstrong biopic First Man with an Academy Award-winning Theremin-heavy soundtrack by Justin Hurwitz. My photographic moon installation, Upward and Outward, was exhibited at San Antonio College, there it is, in 2019. The installation soundtrack, I'm Your Satellite, was composed using only Theremins and voice, and is a love song about two people in orbit. The Theremin has been used in everything from classical to heavy metal music, so why not country western, right? I played Theremin on our Nashville recorded Western Wear album, and the instrument is featured in the upcoming film Cowgirls and Synthesizers. The film is about cult movies, cult bands, cult instruments with a do-it-yourself message. 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the Theremin. When I began to play the instrument less than 10 years ago, I never imagined I'd be included on the New York Theremin Society's album, Theremin 100, with my contemporary heroes, Lydia Kavina, Doric Chrysler, Carolina Ike, and Radio Science Orchestra. To a Theremin fanatic like me, these are some of the greats. Even the foreword to the album compilation was written by the author of my favorite book, Albert Glinsky's Theremin, Ether, Music, and Espionage. This crazy instrument has taken me on an odyssey I hope will continue. There have been many memorable performances, collaborations, and surprises along the way. The Theremin has been my introduction to a whole world of enthusiasts and advocates for the instrument. To end, I'd like to share a clip from Hyperbubble's song, Bionic Girl, performed with the help of some San Antonio friends.
Go, go, Bionic Girl, go, 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 Bionic Girl, go, go, Bionic Girl, go, 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 Bionic Girl, go, go, Bionic Girl, go, 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 Bionic Girl, go, 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 Bionic Girl.
All right.
I think I saw you in that video there, Garrett, wearing a nudie suit.
Yeah, first day I ever wore it.
Awesome.
Cool video, cool everything. That's really awesome. I didn't know about the compilation that you were featured on with your heroes.
Yes, yes. Jeff wrote an original composition specifically for that competition. And as I said, it was also in my art installation, and we got accepted not only on the CD compilation, but the limited edition vinyl. So we're very proud of that.
That is awesome. And thank you for being a theremin, a progressive theremin enthusiast.
I like to think of myself as like a go-to theremin gal in San Antonio.
Yes. Yeah, well, I hear that y'all are moving away.
Yes, we are. We are going to be moving, and this year, not long from now, as soon as we can. Might be a couple of months or so because there's a pandemic, but the plan was the end of the summer, and we're hoping it doesn't get delayed too much, but there's a lot to do. We are moving to be near family. I was born and raised in St. Louis, so it's just a right time. And my parents, I think at their age, I think it would be wonderful for them to have us near, so.
Well, it's been wonderful having y'all in San Antonio for so long, and I'm sure you will be visiting.
Oh yes, we're not saying goodbye forever. We will be coming back. Who knows, we may come back and retire here, but yeah, we're gonna keep our ties strong with San Antonio, definitely.
That is awesome. Well, thanks again. And I think that brings us to the end of this digital PechaKucha. What an amazing array of presenters. I'm just going to name them off one more time. Jess Elizarraras, Gabriela Santiago, Kate Jaceldo, Ben Yanto, Gabriel Ibarra, and Jess DeCuir. Thanks, everybody. That was cool.
Thank you.
And how about another round of applause for everyone that's watching in the wonderful city of San Antonio for being a cool and good place to live. Yeah, I think we did it. We did the digital PechaKucha. So I'm glad the whole team's back on here. We can see your smiling faces. Thanks for everyone that tuned in.
Garrett, announce the winner of our giveaway.
That's what I was about to do.
Okay, good.
We're still accepting donations, but there is a winner. Everybody, get ready to congratulate Denise DeLeon. Congratulations, Denise. You get a bunch of cool stuff. That concludes our programming.
Hey, everybody, we need to do a group photo before we close out. So what we do in Tokyo, everybody puts their hands up and we go banzai. And I'm going to try and I can't do that and a screenshot. So I'm going to just do a screenshot. So 1, 2, 3, banzai. Okay, I've got loads. What a really amazing set of presentations. And it's been a really amazing view into the creativity, passion, and love of San Antonio. I mean, really, really moving presentations. Really, thank you so much. And we'd love to invite you to come and present on one of our online events in Tokyo or to the world. Lots of these will go into our Inspire the World archive because so many touched on the COVID issues and how your city is coping. So thank you so much. It's a really great snapshot too of where we are in the world. So hopefully from all of the creativity and positivity, it will help heal some of the cities around the world. So thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark. And I think that brings us to a close. It has been fun. Everybody stay safe and believe in our community and believe in the unity of the world that we are trying to find. Good night.
Bye. Bye-bye.